Hello, my name is Mr. Pollock, and I want to welcome all of you to World Civilization 107. And we are basically a little over a week away from class starting. In the next several days, I will be sending out messages and posting announcements explaining as much as I can on the exact details with giving you examples of what assignments should look like so that you are able to navigate yourself through this class with ease. And what I want to make clear is that I already know that many of you are being kind of forced into the online world due to what happened with COVID. And I understand what it feels like to be very resistant to trying to deal with the online world. So I'm going to make myself as available as possible and work with you, okay? So if you are having struggles, and let's say you miss a deadline or you're confused about something, take a deep breath. The important thing you need to do, and just realize, is to contact me. We can have a discussion and we can resolve confusion. And hopefully, within a relatively short period of time, you'll be able to find yourself on track in this class. I really work hard to make my classes consistent, clear, and easy to navigate. And that is not going to be something that can always happen from day one, because some of you are maybe thinking about ways that you have always done them classes before, or another online class. And if you have not ever had a class from me before, you don't really know what to expect. And so I'm going to work with you to make sure that that happens. Now, some students, when they start my classes, they see how many videos I post. They see what I'm asking to be done, and they feel a little bit overwhelmed. And it seems to them, and I'm just kind of giving you feedback that I've had from my students, there's a tendency to be a little bit overwhelmed at first. And often I do have students drop immediately when they see that there's papers due consistently and all these videos. But most students that stay in my class get the routine down, see what I'm really asking, see how I actually grade, and they realize that you're set up for success in my class, okay? You're set up to get an A, and you're set up to learn about history, but you have to follow my directions. And this is very doable. And this has been very doable for students that I've had that are in the military on reserve, firemen, mothers working several jobs, single parents, a wide range of some of my students have been going through some really serious domestic complications. I am taking account of all of these factors, and I am going to try to help you succeed and make it doable. And I have had many of those students in those kind of situations walking out of my class with an A. And so I just want to make that very clear from the beginning. Now look, as I mentioned, I'm going to be posting examples. I'm going to write this down, but I want to say this really clearly right here. Some of you are trying to rely strictly on your phones to do these Canvas courses. When you do that, here's the problem. Canvas doesn't tell you if I post an announcement on your phone. And I've noticed, I've had students where they turn in an assignment, they're not getting the points that they expected. I'm writing them notes, telling them what happened, and then telling them what they can do to fix it, and then I will give them full points. But when they're using their phone, for whatever reason, and this is, I think, a problem of Canvas, Canvas will let you have access to the class on your phone, but it's not giving you all the information. So it's kind of dangerous because you're just going to see that you had a grade, and you're not going to have the opportunity to realize that I gave you a chance to make some minor altering of your assignment, and boom, and get all these points to you. But that, I had one student that was very upset, thinking that there was no way to succeed in my class, not understanding why they kept getting zeros on their papers. And I kept saying, all you need to do is X, Y, and Z, and you get full points. And I kept communicating, but they were relying on the phone, and that information wasn't getting across. We were able to get through that, but it was unnecessary stress on the student and it was frustrating for me because I was trying from the beginning to communicate and give them the opportunity to get the successful grade that they wanted, and it wasn't happening. So that's a danger that I just want to warn you about if you're just relying on your phone. So the phone it's limited. I use my phone too sometimes, to message a student back or something, but just don't rely on it, especially when you're not if you're not understanding why your grades are a certain way. I will be expressing to you, you will not get a failing grade from me ever without me explaining why it happened and what you can do to fix it. Okay? So, having said that, I will be posting and communicating lots and lots about what to do in those situations. In regards to what we are covering in this class, I would just like to say I think that this is one of the most important classes that you could have. I'm going to say that. And I'm going to say it because this is teaching you about the history of the world and explaining why the world is the way that it is on so many levels. Because in America, we have the benefit of being one of the largest countries in the world in terms of mass and states. 50. And we have, in a sense, we don't like to think of ourselves as a colonial power, but Hawaii is closer to Japan than it is the United States. Hawaii is an island way, way far away. Alaska is geographically, really, it's in Canada, very close to Russia, but it's the United States. And then we have Puerto Rico, we have Guam, and we have these other islands that you've not been paying attention to or anything like that. And what we are is the largest superpower in human history. And right now we're finding really the only competitor to the United States in terms of many things is China. We will be covering all of that. Now, there's a difference between being a competitor and a threat to interests and an actual threat, an existential threat to your country. We will talk about that as well. My specialty, the things that I covered in college when I was from undergraduate was Asia and the Islamic world. And in grad school, I focused more also on world history. And as you see, and I mentioned in my introduction that I traveled quite a bit in Southeast Asia and in Hong Kong. Now it would be last year and basically 2 years ago I started. I will discuss more about the relevance of all that. And I was in Hong Kong in the middle of the protests there. And I'm living in Portland right now where there's been a lot of protests over here. The world has a lot going on. And it had a lot going on before Trump, by the way. I'm not going to bring Trump into my discussion to divide. I'm bringing him up because he still is our president, and I know that he's been divisive, but you might find him good and divisive, and some of you students might find him bad in being divisive. I'm not going to shove my political perspectives on you, but I will acknowledge the elephants in the room of our society. And the point that I'm trying to make is that, for some of you, the politics and the drama that's been happening under the current president, it's almost like there's some new thing going on. Well, there's certain things that are new, but there's been a lot going on in the world before him, and there's going to be a lot going on after. And I think that it can be a little bit complicated and messy, but you will learn. We will cover the Israel-Palestine conflict thoroughly, and I will do my best to give you both perspectives on it, even though I have my own perspective bias, so if you want to put it that way. We're going to learn about the U.S. invasion of Iraq. We're going to talk about Afghanistan. We're going to talk about China and what is China, what to make of China. It's called the Communist Party rules China, but they're one of the main capitalist competitors of the United States. This is something that in our media, and even independent media I watch, just sound ridiculous. They can't seem to like understand or put a connection to I mean, is China capitalist or is it socialist? If it's socialist, how is it socialist? What does that have to do with socialism? It is called the Communist Party that's in power in China. There's a very clear set of explanations for all this. And remember, you can always keep a name or a title of something, and you can change what the meaning is. That's something that we're gonna cover as well. North Korea is called the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. It's a democratic republic. Does North Korea have a perception or an action of a republic and democracy in the way that someone in the United States would perceive? No. What are the meanings of all these things? So the historian, what's great about when you take a class from history professors is that we look at how these things actually manifest in history. We're not working just with definitions out of dictionaries. We're looking about how these things go down. And it helps you then perceive better about what's going on. I'm going to try at some point to think of a way to explain what I think would be helpful in finding more quality information online and in news sources. This is not easy, and I've talked about this with a lot of my colleagues. This is the worst time and the best time to get information. Through Google and YouTube and cell phones and all this stuff, you can get more access to information than maybe ever in human history. But right now, nobody can agree on what's reliable information. Everything is fake news. Everything in terms of, well, I want to have a discussion with my friend about something, and they show me a source, and I say, well, that information is quite damning, but it's also completely inaccurate. I can prove to you over here that this is inaccurate. Well, I don't trust that source. Oh man, this is a disaster. It's a disaster. But I would argue there are still ways to navigate through that, and I want to help us kind of, go through some of that. And that's mainly all I have to say in all this for now. So just get ready to learn and do work and get a good grade. And I will work with you with any problems. So I just want to say this again before I leave. I went to MJC myself. I ended up transferring to UC Santa Cruz. I ended up being, for my bachelor's, to clarify, I ended up being a single dad in much of my adult life. So I know what it's like to deal with college and juggle with work and those kind of things when you're having a very young child in your life, going through drama, personal drama in your life. Okay, all of the things that disrupt our lives are a distraction to college, and it's legitimate. You never have to give me gory details of things in your life. If somebody broke up with you and you're really hurting about it, here's my point. It's all relevant. You just have to communicate with me if you're having a struggle with something going on in school and you're not turning in your grades. You can't just all of a sudden, a month later, not having turned in stuff or not much, then kind of hope that we're going to fix it so magically. If you communicate with me and you're telling me you're having a hard time, that's all you need to say. And then I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that you have something going on, and I'm going to do my best to help you out with it. Okay? So that's how this is going to work in this class. All right, this is already going on a little bit too long. I'm sure for a lot of you, this 15 minutes. I hope you have a happy new year. Many of you don't believe in the pandemic. Others do. For those who do, you're going to have a very boring new year probably. And for those of you, well, anyways, the pandemic is also the other dividing factor of America. We literally are living under a time period where we are told that there's a pandemic, and a good chunk of Americans don't even believe in it. And I might try to tackle that with all of you as well. So in any case, we are going into a new year, and I hope that it's much better than this one, and we will be in touch.